Joining us now here for a conversation on agriculture of America, our show powered by Cenex Premium Greases and Lubricants. Protect your equipment and keep your operation moving and in check with premium Cenex products. Go to your nearest store, visit Cenex.com for more. We're having a conversation with author Lee Lancaster, learning about a few books he has written on agricultural history, including the Georgia Farmers Strike and Vidalia onions, the Georgia state vegetable. Lee, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's start and let's talk about these books that you have written. And I think pertinent for us to start with the Georgia Farmers Strike and thinking back on history there into the late 70s and the tractorcade and things of that nature. And, I made this comment to you off air that the way, things are in agriculture right now, I mean, looking back at history might not be a bad thing for folks here because, it's one of those time periods where I wouldn't be shocked to see a tractorcade again. I mean, talk about just the book you wrote and looking back at that history and why you chose to look at this and write about it, Lee.
Well, first of all, things have mirrored like they were back in the 70s. You've got inflation has kind of calmed down supposedly. When I started looking into this book, we were double-digit inflation back. The same situation was going on with interest rates. Interest rates are still very high for a lot of folks. And so everything that we've got going on now and a couple of years ago in 2022, when I started working on this, the farmer strike, everything seemed to, this is as bad as it was 40 years ago. This is as bad as it was 40 years ago. And then you look back at 40 years ago, and it was 1977, 1978 during the Carter administration. And the reason why the books came to be was the Ottawa trucker strike. You remember when that came about, and they were just throwing everything at the truckers, trying to get them to stop. And one of the newscasters mentioned when the tractors came to Washington, D.C., and I had never heard anything about a tractor on the National Mall. And I still do contribute to the Market Bulletin with the Agriculture Department down here. And the editor told me to come up with a 500-word article about the tractors going to Atlanta because my daddy had gone. And in 1977, December the 10th, everybody in the state of Georgia drove a tractor and surrounded the Capitol. And this was 6 months before I was born. So obviously I don't remember any of it, but my daddy, he would talk about it here and there. And that gave me the opportunity to get it straight from him. And he really helped me a lot of it, put dates together, and we got together with some folks, and I started interviewing people around Valentine's Day of 2022. And we just put all that together because the times are so similar to what they were. I mean, the crisis is what it was called back in those days. And I know y'all have talked in the last couple of days, and y'all have used farm crisis still, even to talk about some of the situations that we have now. Mm-hmm. And so things are just very similar, very eerie, very similar to what they were. And I don't know if you can see it, but right here, there's a picture that I got from a man's album that has no connection to my family. And that's a picture of my daddy walking on the street, walking to the Capitol in 1977. He drove a 2020 John Deere to the Capitol. It was 15 degrees that morning, and he had a weather buster cab on that tractor. And he said he liked to froze to death. And that's what all of the farmers talked about back in those days. Everybody that's 17, 18 years old up to now 85 and 90 years old even were there. Everybody went to Atlanta. If you were a farmer, you were in Atlanta on December the 10th of 1977. And it was very hard to get any information about this stuff. And it was just crazy that nobody had put it into writing. And so I went and talked to some folks, and I found a book written by Gerald McCathern, and he wrote From the White House to the Hooscow. and there were names in it. And there was a guy from Wilcox County, which is right across the river from me.
Mhm.
And there was a lot of people that I knew, and I got to calling folks. And I got a hold of about 45 farmers that gave me their story. And one of the farmers that was in competition with the Carter family over at the Peanut Mine Point, he was from Weston. And he was the first interview that I did. And he told me that he went to Washington and there were tractors on the National Mall. And the buses from Washington, D.C., they had completely surrounded the farmers and they wouldn't let them out. And I had never heard this before in my entire life. And it was so foreign to me. It was like somebody was speaking in a foreign language because I had never heard these things before. And man, I got so addicted. I didn't go to sleep till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I could not put it down until I just absolutely ran out of batteries. And I put it together. I got picked up by Arcadia and we printed that book. And I can tell you right now, that was the only thing I could do to get over that itch, man, because it was just because I had the Ertl tractors when I was a youngin',
Yep.
and I can't imagine if somebody had told me about this to this day, I don't know what I'd have done. If somebody had told me about this 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I have to think that as you interviewed folks and put together this book, and not to give too much away, we want folks to go purchase the book and read your work, but it just sounds like you were able to really collect so many interesting stories about that point in time in history.
Yeah, and we hit it just right. Tommy Kersey and Leighton Kersey, they were two of the big farmers here that were really big into the farmers strike. Tommy Carter had died in 97. Leighton died in 21. Tommy died in 2017, so obviously I wasn't able to use them. Mm-hmm. But I've had 3 farmers who contributed to my work have died since the project came out. So anybody that's listening, if you've got anything, a relative or somebody that you want to talk to about some sort of something that they did back, that you want to talk to them about, you get to work on it, because those folks are not going to be here forever. And I'm really glad. And I know these folks as families, I pass along the recordings of the interviews and things like that to them. So we're holding on to a piece of history that almost disappeared.
I know folks can find more information on your website, leelancasterbooks.com. Another book you've written as well. I do want to ask you about this here also today, and looking at the history of the Georgia State vegetable, Vidalia onions. Talk about the story behind that book that you've written as well, Lee.
Well, the Vidalia onion is a state vegetable, and it came about probably because of the boll weevil. And back in the teens, 100 years ago, everybody grew cotton from the Tennessee line all the way to the swamp. And when the boll weevil came in, it chewed up 50 to 60% of your crop, and that was the entire state. And so people had to find something else to grow, and the Vidalia onion is one of those crops. And we had a very enterprising young man who bought onions from another state for $3 a bag and poured them into a Vidalia onion bag and sold them for $15 a bag. And all of the Vidalia onion farmers got together and said, that isn't right. And so you ended up with the Vidalia onion law, and you also have the Vidalia onion marketing order through the USDA, which says if it's a Vidalia onion, it's got to be grown in that 20 county area. And I happen to be the expert. They call me the onion police. I don't really like to use that word, but I like to use the onion advisor. But yeah, we make sure that the Vidalia onions are actually from Georgia and not any other state or any other country. And so there's a lot of interesting information in the Vidalia onion book that I put together, and it talks about our folks down here, the climate and the the geography, the farming that we have going on down here, where the farming, how you grow them and harvest them. And obviously H2A has always been a big thing with us. I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people about H2A, where farming labor came from and how we ended up with the H2A program. And it is a complete is a complete opposite of what you hear on the news media. It does not even compute with me. I can't even watch a newsreel about something when they're talking about H2A, because it goes in one ear and out the other, because I don't know where they're getting their information from.
Well, Lee, this has been a fun conversation here today. Final thoughts from you? Anything else you would add or mention about the books you've written, or anything you would reiterate to our audience here today?
Yeah, everything that we do, I'm doing it to hold on to the history of this of the movement, especially with the farmer strike. Everything you see here is authentic. It was all from the 70s and the 80s. This tractor, a tractor flew this flag all the way from Kansas to Washington, D.C., and the bumper stickers, they all bought those, and that's how they fundraised to be able to do what they did. So like I said, I'm taking this history and I'm trying to preserve it. And you can take and go to my website, and you'll see all of the things that we found in these personal albums from some of these farmers, and they get their first point of view of everything of this. And I just appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Well, and folks can go check things out, buy both of the books, The Georgia Farmer Strike and Vidalia Onions, the Georgia State Vegetable, LeeLancasterBooks.com for more information. Lee, thank you for the time and joining us here on AOA today. We appreciate it. We'll look forward to talking again in the future.
Thank you. We'll see y'all then.